it's a killer problem, and I'm not exaggerating there either. We did some research a couple of years ago, Time to Act piece of research with small firms, and we reckon that 50,000 businesses fail every year because of late payment. It's a serious headache for them, and it will put some out of business. The pandemic has undoubtedly made the situation a whole lot worse. Cash flow has dried up during the pandemic. We saw that early on, and we had the bounce back loans. Businesses desperate to get some cash flow through the business. We saw big businesses just not paying in some cases. So yeah, it will cripple businesses. It will put some out of business, but paying right can do so much for the economy as well. Paying on time, we believe, would put 2.5% on small business profit margins in a year. That frees up money for them to reinvest in the business, for training, for all sorts of things, taking on more staff. So there's a reason for getting it right. And there's lots of good reasons, that businesses shouldn't do it and should try and sharpen up the payment practices. It kills businesses.
As Robert was saying, it's a snowball effect that comes from a certain level and then does go down the chain, unfortunately. When we deal a business to business, we don't sell to customers, or extremely rarely. And we are lucky enough to not have all of our businesses that we deal with who are within a chain. So it is very often their decision to withhold payment. One of the new things that we've unfortunately seen is not just late payments. They are actually being very good pupils in the fact that they pay their invoice on time, but they don't allow us to issue the invoice on time, and they withhold the purchase order number. So we can't send an invoice. And as Robert was saying, they are big clients. We don't want to push too much for fear of losing the client. So it's a bit of a battle of reason, really. We are in the food and drinks sector, and we supply chefs to the industry. And because there is such a shortage at the moment, due to everyone having gone to do other things during the pandemic, because every single restaurant and food outlet was closed, or nearly. The one positive thing is that when clients finally get a chef in the kitchen, they try to keep them. And in order to keep them, they need to make sure they pay us. So in that respect, for the sector, I think at the moment we're seeing a good thing happening. If everyone would keep to it, it would be perfect.
What Robert said right at the beginning was this is a killer problem. And what he means by that is it's a killer problem because a small business, and the smaller that business, the more that 500 quid matters. So if there's 500 quid outstanding on an invoice, that can make a difference between you going bust or not. And one case that springs to mind is the woman who actually faced the fact that she didn't have money to pay her children, to feed her children over the weekend, and finally got in touch with the Small Business Commissioner's office because we can help. But she didn't want to push that nuclear button. And we've heard Robert describe that. We want to keep the business relationship, if at all possible. But she did push that nuclear button. And luckily, she came to us before the close of play on Friday. And we managed to get that money into her account so that she could feed her children that afternoon. But the person on the other end of that contract was horrified, absolutely horrified, because that payment department had never thought about it in that light.
What is still concerning is some of the statistics that have been quoted as well, because they're still very startling. So I think, if we can work collectively, which I think, the previous sort of speakers have said the same, this is like everybody's problem to try and resolve. And I think if banks can play a part in that, then, all the better, I think. Absolutely. And I know, at the cooperative bank, that's something we are very keen to do.